You go down to the salt. Oh, now. That's a crocodile split. Go.
Well, that's some water. Anyone else use anything but water to put in their dampers?
Beer.
Who said beer? Security? Security to the King Brown tent, they're putting beer in the damper again. Oh, you put beer in the damper, oh my God. No need. I've had some beautiful beer dampers too, by the way, over the years, but if you use my recipe just to make a plain damper, I'll pit my recipe using water against anyone else's using beer any day. If you taste mine made with water, you'll never waste a beer on damper ever again. Leave them in the esky and drink them. I only add a little tiny bit of water then, but I've got all that dip in there. I'm actually very close to enough moisture already. In fact, it's probably looking a little bit too wet. I'll just show you a couple of little tips. When I'm mixing dampers, I always use a knife, and I usually add little tiny bits of water at a time, and I didn't. I added that much, about a cup of water, I guess. I should have added at least half that at a time, but I forgot. I got a lot of dip in there, so it's very wet. It's too wet. I know it's too wet because it's stuck to the floor. Wet bit stuck to the floor of my bowl, right? A perfect moisture in the damper won't have dry bits on the floor, and it won't have wet bits on the floor. It'll have a clean floor, right? And a perfect damper batter will grab that knife. I'll add little bits of water until it grabs that knife and rolls around the bowl on the knife in with the knife. Bang, done. Don't add any more water because this is over wet, but it's okay. Don't panic. It'll still work. But now I've just put myself into the danger zone of having doughy bits in the middle, right? Because it's wetter. What happens is when you make your damper batter too wet, is it extends your cooking time. When you extend your cooking time, it's exposed to the hot surface of the camp oven for longer, so therefore the crusts get thicker and they're more likely to burn, and they get harder and thicker. When those crusts get harder and thicker, they shield the inside of the damper batter from the heat. So you're more likely to get a doughy bit in the middle. So you'll have a really hard or burnt crust and a doughy bit in the middle because I made it too wet. Okay? I could add a bit more dry in there, it wouldn't hurt at all. I'll put a bit on there, a good handful on there so I can handle it. But I'm not going to worry about mixing any more in. I'll run with what I got. I'll just give it a good heavy coating so I can handle it. There we go. Bit sticky in there. That dry flour, I need that in there to clean the bowl for the next show. Let's cover it with some dry flour to soak up the water. And then it just scrapes straight out. In over there for a second. Alright, so most people get their damper out at this point and they'll bring it to a nice shape like that, traditional damper shape, and that's what they'll go and put in that camp oven to cook. What I'm going to do, I flour my hand again and I just gently press it down and I make it flat like that, okay? This damper will rise exactly the same as the other one that was already shaped up. People will leave them like that because they want it to look like that and be a nice big round damper. This will still rise, but the difference is it's now cooking evenly when it starts to cook through the middle. That's just another little trick to help eliminate that doughy bit in the middle. All right? The quicker we can cook this damper, the better, because we don't want the crust to be too thick or too hard. There we go. Alright, so let's set this temperature up here. We should have a bit of heat still there. Yeah, that's fine. It's cooled off a little bit. Coals don't get hotter after you take them away from the fire. They eventually cool down. This was too hot when I first put it there, and I know it was because I put one handful of flour on the floor there and layered it to use as a temperature gauge. Okay, and I can look at it, and feel free to come down and have a look. It's showing you two examples. It's showing you what not to do, and it's showing you exactly what to do at the same time. The colour that I'm looking at is the mirror image of what the bottom of the damper is going to look like when I cook it. It's too dark, because in actual fact it's going to be darker than that when I finish. See the cracks? See those little cracks? That's what I want in the bottom of this floor of this oven when I start cooking. I want the flour to be basically pure white with those cracks. If you've got that, that means that the floor is hot enough to seal the bottom of the damper. You don't need to have any colour at all underneath your damper. Turn over a bread roll from the bakery, half the time they'll be white. Right, you don't need colour. Colour's all the top. So that's definitely too hot. Now, I just jumped it over here because I was going to be sitting over here for a while. I knew that, so I took it off the heat. If I was going to be putting something straight in there, you know what I would have done? I wouldn't have taken it off the heat. I would have just let it run a bit hot. That's fine. But I wouldn't have moved any coals either, but I would change the temperature of that floor. And how I would do it is, I would just get another handful of flour like that and sprinkle it over the top and make it deeper. Alright? So without changing the heat that's coming onto the bottom of that floor, I've now changed the floor, the temperature for itself by just making the flour a little bit thicker. Alright, so that's how I do it. And I can sit back and watch and just make sure that that doesn't brown up if I want to get perfect. But I'm happy with that. I know it'll be right to go. So we'll get this thing in and get it cooking. And serrated knife. Oh, there's a good one. We'll just carve a bit of a cross because they do tend to rise up. And I'll move him over there and get him in. And what I should have done is use my little shovel here to help me get it in there. While I was talking, it started to grow. It's starting to grow on me. There we go. Now that looks pretty good. But I'm thinking we could probably jazz it up a bit more. I got a bit of this that needs using up too. Mozzarella, it's mozzarella, cheddar and Parmesan cheese all mixed together. Let's try a bit of that.
Vinegar or vinegar.
On top of that. And why not? Let's go all out. I got a couple of these cherry tomatoes here. Let's chuck a couple of them on there as well. I just like making pretty patterns. Whoop, yeah, the right way. Oops, I dropped him. Look there. Yep, one left, look at that. And because I've got some left over from something I was doing yesterday, let's add a bit of calamata as well. Yeah, come up and take a photo and have a look, closer look. You eat with your eyes first, so if you see how good this looks, I know it's going to taste good then. How artistic is that? Have another look. There's my photographer. Oh, it's the wood. What was that? The dip was the Red Rock roasted capsicum. Yeah. Okay, let's get them cooking. There's my lid lifter there. Alright, so there was no guesswork involved in the temperature underneath that oven. We could actually visually see the flour, what temperature it's at. I don't guess the lid either. I don't take any chances. I make sure I set that exactly where I want to get it, and I'll show you. I'll just be preheating it over there to give me a quick head start on it. And I've got a glove here somewhere. These gloves are great, by the way, 800 degrees C's rated. You can pick up and hold a hot camp oven just long enough to be able to move it where you want to move it. And they shield my hand from these coals, which are very, very hot. Can you feel the heat coming off that?
You've got your safety boots on there, Ken.
I've got my safety boots on today. Yeah, at home I do this in thongs at home. It doesn't end well usually either, don't worry. And you'll notice that I keep this part of my face well away from the fire.
The hair that gets fired.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the logo, the bib was a lot longer. That wasn't Photoshop. That photo was taken before the Great Fire of 2019. Nothing worse than the smell of burning hair when you've got a beard. Alright, that's a random amount of coals there. It's pumping out a lot of heat. Dampers do like a lot of heat, but to make a really nice one, if you cook it slow, it will be nice. And you can always touch it up with a little bit extra heat on the lid in the last few minutes to make it a bit crustier on top if you need be. But a slow cooked damper will rise for further than a fast cooked one, because it'll set the crust as it's rising very quickly with the heat. Another little trick I didn't point out, especially when you're adding a lot of ingredients into the damper, and I only recommend ever adding 2 or 3. Don't put half the fridge in there. It's always a mistake. They're a bit like pizzas, less is more. But to help with the rise, when you've got a few extra ingredients in there, if you get yourself a bamboo skewer and just punch a heap of holes in it, there's little steam vents, and that will help lift it and make it a bit lighter and fluffier as well. But it's always going to be more dense. But if you do this particular recipe I did, and just with water and nothing else, they call it a plain damper. But that's honestly a bit of an insult, really, because there's nothing plain about that recipe with a bit of butter and golden syrup. And I recommend everyone, if you're going to cook dampers and you haven't done it before, start with a plain damper. Don't go getting the bacon and the onion and everything out of the fridge to put in it. Just make a plain one. There's nothing wrong with it. It is absolutely delicious. It's with this particular recipe. It's called the Back of Burke recipe. It's the icing sugar tip has been around a very long time. I learned it in Western New South Wales when I was young from an old bloke who was a drover's cook for most of his life and a shearer's cook, and he had learned it when he was young. It's been around a long time, and I've since run into quite a few people in Western Queensland who are using the same recipe. So it is an old sort of a recipe. Anyway, that particular recipe and many others I've got up there in my book for sale as well. Now, we need to set this temperature. I was just giving it a couple of minutes to settle down. We need to set the temperature to this camp oven to get it just right. Okay, so the good thing about camp ovens is anyone can work with them. They're so simple to use. You know, people worry about burning food and that. They're very, very easy to use and set the heat on. It's not complicated at all, because unlike those stoves in the house with knobs everywhere and numbers all over them, these things have only got 3 temperatures. That's all you've got to learn, 3 temperatures, right? The first temperature is called not bloody hot enough, right? The second one's called just bloody right, and the third one's called too bloody hot. And I use all 3 of them. They all have their own uses, okay? And I'll show you how I can set that to very precise. I'll come in at about a hand in height over the oven with my hand and just count. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was pretty much hot between 3 and 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, it's hot enough in 3. I don't want to leave my hand there any longer than that. Okay, so that's an accident. I just put a random bit of coals on there, because at 3, if it had a temperature gauge on, like a round temperature gauge like on a stove, the needle would come up, it would be pointing directly up here, and up there it would say just bloody right, right? Because that's perfect temperature for baking and roasting, right? Doesn't matter if you put a chook in there or a batch of bread rolls, it's going to cook it perfectly, right? It's going to cook, it's going to colour, it's going to crisp, and it's going to crust at that temperature, right? If I could have held my hand there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it's hot, or 4 and it's hot, we're a little bit under that on the dial. We've just wound it down a little bit, and it's still a great place to cook. Honestly, you can just set it at that, walk away. Yeah, I'll be back in half an hour. Simple as that. I'll just check that in half an hour, see how it's going. Go and settle down and have a beer, or wine, just relax. Don't look at it, it'll be fine. Because it's not hot enough to burn anything. It's just going to cook along nicely. In actual fact, If you have a chook in there, you might have to touch it up with some extra heat later on just to bring that colour and crispiness up on the skin. If you can hold your hand there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can hold your hand there, and it's hot, but you can hold it there quite comfortably for an extended period of time. You're over here, and it's not bloody hot enough. All right? But you can still cook at that temperature. At that temperature, it will still cook. It just won't colour, it just won't crisp, it won't crust, it won't crunch, it won't do any of those C's. Right? If you go 1, 2, and it's hot, and it's burning, even on 3, if it's really burning on 3, if it's burning anywhere from 3 down on your hand, it's burning your food as well. So it's very easy to remember, and you need to get some heat off there straight away, basically. Because at that temperature, all it will do is colour, crust, crisp, most likely burn. Give it some time, it will burn, but it won't cook. It's too hot. It'll start to colour and crust everything, whether it be a chook, whether it be a pie, whether it be bread, whether it be damper. It'll start doing the top work without doing any cooking in the middle because it's happening too fast. So you need to slow it down. I can use that to bring things home. You know, I can actually cook chooks in big ovens. Big ovens I've got at home. I put a big heap of big chooks in there. Cook them slow for 2 hours. Not bloody hot enough, right? Take the lid off after 2 hours of slow cooking, steam rolls out everywhere. You look at it, you can see the bones of the chook are just sliding out of the meat under their own weight because it's so moist and tender inside. But the chooks themselves are the colour of these chairs here, they're all white, no colour at all. But I can put the lid back on that, and I used to do this all the time when I was catering, and then smash the top of a big heap of heat, give it 3 or 4 minutes at some high top heat, take it back off, bang, crispy skin, brown colour on the chook. I bring it home with that extra heat. So I'm using all 3 of those things. Very accurate. This is very accurate. I can tell you it doesn't matter if you're a lady or a man or you know how tough your hands are. This will get you so close to where you should be. It's not funny, this technique. And I can tell you now it's a lot better than the technique that most of you are probably using. And I'll run through this technique, let me know if I'm wrong, if this is how you do it, right? You've got your campfire here, and you've got your camp oven over there, which is good, you've got to have them well apart, all right? Because cast iron in particular will pick up heat from a campfire from a long distance and affect the food. So get it away from the fire where you're making the coals. So what most people do is they'll shovel out the coals, throw them over here, throw their camp oven on, put their meat in, put the lid on, get another shovel, throw it up on top, lean on the shovel for a few seconds looking at it like that, and then they'll sort of muck around and get part of a shovel full and add that little bit on top again, and then they'll just look at it and lean on the shovel and go, yeah, I think that's about right. Does that sound familiar to anyone, that technique? It's called guessing. You have absolutely no idea what temperature that oven is. You're just making it up. Now, some of you have probably had enough experience you can get fairly close at doing that, and I probably could too. But I used to cook with up to 40 camp ovens at a time, doing things like custard desserts. If I was doing a wedding and there was 150 people there, I hand-made 150 bread rolls on site and cooked them in camp ovens on site to go with the dinner, along with all the other courses that I was working. And basically I couldn't afford to just guess and hope that I had it right. It had to be right. That's the thing, it had to be right. Trust me, you don't want to be the man that buggers up somebody's special day like their wedding. And I did a lot of weddings. I did all sorts of parties. I did some divorce parties too. That was pretty good over the years. Anyway, so I know that's right. I don't have to fuss over it too much. Let me check it again. 1, 2, 3. It's running pretty warm. But that's okay. We want to get that cooked. And so I'm going to run it probably a bit harder than I would recommend. We'll give that about 15-20 more minutes and we'll see how it looks. And in the meantime, we might just get some of these experimental, well, they're experimental to me, cabbage rolls of Martina's out and have a bit of a look at them. And we'll give that board a wipe. No one around, no one watching. I think we'll use that. Martina, what else have we got to do here? You better come up and help me. The tongs are there. What else did I need to go with these? Just sit them out there like that. Actually, oh no, I was too quick. He started to fall to bits on me. I'm surprised how well they're holding together. When she was describing me the recipe, I was like, yeah, I can't see that really working. Yeah.
Where's your camera?
Oh, oops, I've gutted one by mistake. Oops. Yeah, there you go. I'll try, but I got flour on my finger and it doesn't know my fingerprint anymore. Oh, there it goes, it works. Slice them through and have a bit of a look on the inside. Yeah, I just did the maths. Oops. I realised. That's okay. We're just going to cut these up like that. I've got to have gloves on. Oh, yeah, I should. I know. We're in the bush camp here. Blokes I used to think were happy if they didn't have charcoal and shotgun pellets in there, didn't they? That was a good night out. It was like dining in a restaurant if they had it that good. It looks fantastic. Now Tina's worried. Why are you worried? Oh, I think it looks great. A combination of cooking techniques with bringing in something new with the traditional Australian camp oven, a bit of steamed cabbage roll. We've got some sauce there. Do you want to get your sauce organised, please? I'll put this one back together. Get your sauce there, Don. Sauce. You want to have some sauce? I'll put these ones there like that. And these back ones are a bit rough. Oops. Yeah, next time we do this, I'm going to do sausage rolls at the same time. I think these ones are probably a bit more healthy than my sausage rolls. They're probably better for you to eat. That looks alright. What do you reckon about that? Yeah. Now, we were planning on bringing some little plates to give people a taste of that, but we forgot. But then I found these bread plates here. So they will do. If anyone would like to be game enough to volunteer to have a taste, come on up. Is anyone going to volunteer? Hey, oi Steve, how are you? This is what I had in mind. It's hot in here at one point. Something like that. And there's some sauce there if they want. Just take the lid off so it's ready to go. Sauce is optional. It's only a bit of sweet chilli. Leave it off. Leave it there. Oh, you're going to shake. Okay. Alright guys. I'll let you just sort yourselves out. We have a skewer, we have a napkin.
Big skewers. Toothpicks.
Camp oven cabbage rolls. Who's ever heard of that?
Sort of like pickup sticks. Anyway.
See, put one of these sticks over there for you to wrap from there.
Okay, so this thing. It's okay. Not bad.
How did that go down? Is that alright? Worth doing again? I think we've got a couple of extras and we've got to cook later for ourselves, so looking forward to that.
Tastes sort of like prawny meat sort of thing.
Loretta, did you get one of these? No?
Don't taste the cabbage. Good though.
Yep. Do you want chili sauce?
No, it's alright.
Alright. Alright, we've got some left, so I'll have a taste too. Yeah, look. Perfectly cooked in there. Mm. Yeah, of course you can. Mm. There's only those two left. Oh, you got one there.
Probably. You don't need a drink.
Mm. Last one there. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Salty. Mm. Okay.
I don't think they're that salty.
Mm. No?
They just look very nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
If you have sauce with it, it'll spoil the taste.
Yeah, I didn't have any sauce. This sauce is not hot enough for me. Oh my goodness. I hurt myself nearly every night eating hot sauce. But I'm not happy unless I'm hurting myself with it. I love it. Okay. Can you come down and help me please, Martina? Clean up my bench for me. And I'll have a look at this one. Well, it's running some heat out of there, so I'll have a bit of a look. How long has it been in there for? Anyone happen to know? 10 minutes. Is that all? 15, yeah, I reckon. She's swelled up nicely. Everything's looking pretty good in there. 15. Yeah, probably should go another 5 in there anyway. That's all right. Well, while Martina's cleaning up our cutting up area, we'll do a quick run through some of this other equipment I got over here. You'll notice I've got the Weber stand right there, so everything you see me using here that you might want to get, you can get from right there. I'll start on this barbecue over here. This one, you'll notice, it's very dirty, but it's because I forgot to replace them before I left. There's actually a foil insert in there, right? These things are called BBQ skins, and you get them from bbqskins.com.au. No affiliation with me, by the way. None of this stuff is. I'm not sponsored by Weber or anything like that. However, if there's any Weber reps in the crowd, I'm happy to have a chat out the back later. Yeah, fantastic things. Basically, at the end of an expo, I can throw these things away and I have a nice clean barbecue to load into my trailer and off I go. It keeps it clean. Or, and what I do, which I haven't done recently as you can tell, I'll just get the spray and wipe and give that a good clean with that, and then I put it back in and keep using it. Right, they're very good. Saves a lot of cleaning, and I don't have to worry about getting water and detergents in around the jets on the barbecue as well. Now in here you might notice there's this little gadget in there as well. How that works, it just slots in there like that. So now I can actually, if I want, I can use it like that. What it does, if I get this saucepan over here, I think they call it the casserole dish. It'll just sit on that wire frame I've got there. I can turn that flame on and it's exactly the right distance to heat it up like a normal gas stove. So I'll just turn the barbecue into a gas stove. It gives you an option for that. But also I can add this back in at the same time So I could have 2 of these working in there, or I can put a grill back in. Now I can grill my steak over here and cook my veggies over there. A lot of people don't know about this thing. When I bought it, I looked at the price and thought, yeah, I don't want to pay that for a saucepan. I'll just go to bloody the op shop down the road and get one for $2. And but then I thought, well, I'm doing Weber displays and demonstrations. I probably should have proper Weber equipment. So I grit my teeth and paid it and bought it, not knowing that it came with that rack. And that's the only way you can buy that rack, is by buying that. So it's handy for that. Since then, of course, I own 70 camp ovens at least. So I don't really have a use for a saucepan anyway, really. Not much of a use. And so it's never to this day been used as a saucepan. But I found out that this is an absolute brilliant bread tin. And I cook breads in it all the time. It is my favourite bread tin to use. And when I'm cooking bread, I'll show you how I set it up. Because the bread rises up beautifully, I'll actually leave the lid on it for most of the cooking of the bread, and I'll take it off at the last minute just to finish the crust off. Because steam cooks beautiful bread, that holds the steam in place in there. The crust will come right up the sides as well on the bottom, and you get a beautiful, light, crunchy, absolutely gorgeous crust using that particular pan. I'll put the other grill back in to turn that into an oven to bake my bread. I do several things when I turn it into an oven. I'll bake breads and stuff in there. One of the other things I do is grab one of my frying pans, and I can actually put baked scones. I've made lots of scones in a frying pan like this in the Weber. What you do is you get, first of all, the first thing you do is the foil to heat the diffuser. There's rain. Yeah, fancy that. Down there, which will deflect the heat around instead of directly heat up. Then you put your trivet. Now, when you buy a trivet from Weber, it comes with a few of these diffusers, and then you can buy reloads. But they last a long time. You know, I wear them right out. So I get a lot of cooks out of one. So it just sits in there like that. Now, anything I put on top of that is going to bake and not fry or grill. Right? So I've done everything. I've put chooks in there and made a beautiful baked chook. Absolutely beautiful. I've done scones, I've done dampers, I've done breads, I've done everything you can think of just like this, baking like that. Works fantastic. These are all their implements. I think they call it Q-ware. This is all Weber, genuine Weber stuff. The handles are all interchangeable, and they're quick release and quick grab. Fantastic bits of gear. I highly recommend them. It is very good. Even the pans themselves, like for cooking T-bone steaks and that, does a great job. They're very good pans, very good quality stuff. This one over here, I use it a lot for the rotisserie, and this is what the rotisserie looks like when it's in a baby cube. You'll notice it's got no handle. That's a long story involving a burning pig on Christmas Day, possibly too many beers. Yeah, anyway, that's the rotisserie. The bar goes through there. It's up here somewhere. There it is. I use this in conjunction a lot with the smoker trays. One of my favourite things to do is to get the smoker tray and put in this Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel wood chips. Mitre 10, the only place I've ever found this stuff. And when you're in there buying the wood chips, you'll also find this Jack Daniel's chicken rub. So I'll rub my chicken with Jack Daniel's chicken rub, and I'll put it in here and smoke it on the rotisserie with the Jack Daniel's barrel wood chips, and then I'll put it on my plate, and I'll put on some Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce and wash it down with a bit of Jack Daniel's.
Cool. That's a lot of Jack Daniels.
I think I better get some sponsorship from Jack Daniel's too. No sponsorship up here. Anyway, these guys over here have got all that sort of equipment. I highly recommend. The spit, people ask, is it worth getting? When I first got it, I was a bit suspicious and thought that it's a bit gimmicky for me, really. I'm quite happy to cook my chooks in the camp oven, but I'll tell you what, I have turned around. I absolutely love it. I can use it for so many things, not just the chook. One of my other favourite ones to do, I'll get another rub, And you'll have to excuse the shape of the bottle. I put it somewhere where it was very hot. And there was a whole series of them, and they're all, this was the best one I could salvage. They just scrunk it up in the heat. It's a Jackalope brand. You can buy this online too. I'm guessing, I'm making this up, it's probably jackalope.com.au, I don't really know. They're from Brisbane, I think, and they do lots of rubs. This one is the pastrami rub. Now, I've never been a fan of pastrami at all, but what you do with this is, right, you get yourself a piece of corned beef, and you coat it with a bit of garlic. I'll give you a tip: garlic, olive oil. All right, coat it all over that. Sprinkle it with all of this. Put it in there. Get one of your wood chips, any brand, and smoke it for a good hour while it's rotating on the spit. After a good hour of smoking, take it off the spit, put it in one of the pans, and just wrap it over with some foil so it's sealed in there, and put it in your baking section on your trivet, and put it back in there and cook it until it's so tender that you can put a skewer in it with no resistance. Now that pastrami is extraordinary. It is absolutely delicious. One more thing I'll show you before I go too. I've just bought this yesterday and I can't wait to try it. This little bag here. Because what happened to me and Martina is I bought a brand new caravan not long ago, and this is its first trip up to here. And I got up here and I came into the expo ground and I unpacked all my gear to set up for the show. Went over and parked at the caravan park, went to cook dinner, and then realised I only own Weber frying pans and Weber saucepans. All my cooking gear is here. So we've been ordering in because we've got no way of cooking our dinner in the caravan park. So I was walking out yesterday and I bumped into our mate just across here, Morgan. Where is he? Black tent, black flag. Yeah, the man there under the white roof where the black flag is, that's Morgan. And they've got these things over here, very high quality stainless steel. I'm not going to get out of the bag because it's very new. It's too new to use at the moment. I'm not going to do it, but he's got them over there on display. You can wander over and have a look. High quality, and high quality, not cheap, but you know, I don't mind paying for good stuff, for very good stuff. And it's non-scratch, you know, not like those ones, they will scratch, you know, so in actual fact you can use metal scrapers and everything on them fine, so very tough. In here I think there's 2 saucepans and a frying pan in there, lids and all, and handle, and the handle's the same, it just clips on and off just like that sort of setup there, and it all packs in there. So for a caravaner, that's all we need, you know, so I've ticked that box. I just thought I'd mention that in case anyone else is in the same situation and they're looking for some good cookware to go with their caravan. Alright, let's have a look at this damper. I think I had a smell of it just then. If you can smell damper or bread, it's cooked. I'm probably going to call that done. If anyone would like to have a bit of a look at it now before I get it up onto the table, maybe take a photo. Yeah, please. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Huh? Yeah. This is the Tannerfield neighbour. I don't know. I'm doing the show, I'm not wearing the phone, so.
10:26 a.m.
Do you want to get some photos, please? Where do I put, there it is, and shovel, straight up into that. Yeah, I put that much cheese in there, it's very hard to lift it that wants to break apart. I'm just going to move the oven right up here. Probably shouldn't sit on that table like that. There we go. cheese is stuck to the wall a little bit there. And we're going to get that. Come on, I know you want to come out. It also wants to tear in half. Oh, the bloody thing's cooked. Seems to be very gooey, but I did put a lot of cheese in there. Man. It's a bit of a challenge. I might have to get it out like a pizza. In pizzas. Let me have a look. Look at that, it's gooey as. But it's cooked, it's just the cheese. It's going to have to come out in quarters. I've never had one as cheesy as this. But I did put a lot in it because I was always sick of, you know, slicing and slicing going, where's that cheese? Well, we got plenty of it in there now. Do it.
Cheese, mate.
Huh?
From cheese.
That is.
It looks like more cheese than vampire.
Yeah, I got a bit carried away with the cheese, I think. It's definitely cooked, it's just the cheese. Alright, let's just sit that down there. Picked it up with the hand, but it hasn't got a glove on. Damn. Oh, hot there too, where that was sitting. Alright. I don't know how I'm going to slice this. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's red hot.
Put it in the fridge.
Melt me ice cream. Yeah, it's just red hot. Wow. Can you see the colour? The orange and the green and little flecks of red. Tenderfield damper. And it's just going to come out. Yeah, don't show anyone though, will you? Nah, look at that. That looks awesome. Look how gooey that is there. That's fantastic. I think what we'll do with that one is just gonna, it's just not cooperating at all. I think we better go back to the napkins.
You got that one on your website, Ron?
Actually, this recipe is actually, it was done, it's actually on one of my YouTube channels. It's on the Camp Oven King, Tenderfield damper. Yeah, it's on there. It was on there from when I did it at Tenderfield. One of the times, I do it every year at Tenderfield. Where's those little, I'm going to put them two there because they're actually the only two that I managed to cut properly. And the rest of it's a bit more like cake.
Good. Yeah, coffee and cake.
Well, what we might do, if somebody wants to come up and take these ones that I've done, I mean, there's a bit of butter there, but
You're ready. Thank you, mate. You're up. Dangerous.
yes, yes. Right. Well, we'll cut a piece for her right now. It's really hard to cut this one because there's so much cheese in it. Ooh. That one nearly had a piece of finger in it. There's some down too there.
What's that like?
Yeah. Like all girls.
It's nice. It's moist. It's pretty hot inside. In the center. Outside's crispy. Can't beat that campfire
Am I
smoke.
going to? Oh, okay. Right. I just got it. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So soft.
The hardest one I've ever had to cut. Yeah, I did. It was only a 3-cup damper. You're dead right. And I put 2 of those dips. And normally I do a 4-cup damper with 2 dips. And one with 3, but yeah. And then I made it a little bit too raw.
Steak, starvation, and campfire. Oh, the Wild Rivers.
But everything else is on yours.
When's it on?
20th of June.
All right, okay.
Thank you very
Put it
much.
on my calendar.
That'll be just about right time.
Okay.
All right, thank you then. All the best.
Hey,
We've got 10 ticket lot, 15 tickets,
I'll take this 20.
$20 one. Yeah. So we just need the details there on the one.
I often do the deaf blow, but the only time I see them is at shows.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's true.
I'd probably support them more if I saw them more places.
Well, look, I used to come here, but the shopping centre, everybody charges too much money to sell, for you to
Oh,
sell
yeah.
tickets anywhere.
What I like is the island bed. That you can at least get around it to make it. I'm a little bit too old, Holly.
Yeah, but you can choose any model, any layout you like when you win, any brand vehicle at all. This is only an example.
So the tickets are $20.
10 for $20.
Or you can do 100 or 250 or 30
yeah.
or whatever. But you're supporting the deaf people, so
Okay, good call.
do it to support the deaf.
That's the main reason, matey. Thank you.
Trying to sniff out mice. They always do that. They always look for mice. Oh. Get a massage from it as well. Tickle their feet. Doesn't like the little girl.
Yeah, I don't want to bring my backpack when we get home.
Oh, he's gonna do it. Keep on winding him.
Once you're done wrap around your neck, take it out.
Keep your hand open so you get a tip. Yeah. That's the big mistake people make. They get a snake and they'll try to stop it from moving. Open your grip up until you think you're also still do that. Let's go.
Guards on, thing happening. I know what he does, but I don't know anything.
Is that you, mate? Yeah, easy. G'day, folks. How's everyone going today? Good?
Yeah.
Well, we've got great over here. Everyone else is like, caravan's more expensive than I thought they were going to be. COVID tax.
Who would think that?
We've just got a few more minutes, folks, before we kick off proper. There's other talks going on and stuff like that. We can't jump the gun too much, so people might be trying to get from one place to another and all that sort of business. And there are a few seats available still, folks, so if you are wandering around the main pavilion here at the Cairns Expo, come grab a seat at the Hands on Wildlife stage. We're going to kick off our crocodile talk in about 6 minutes or so. Has anyone bought anything amazing today? You got a Yamaha shark, that thing will never stop. We thought sharks were unstoppable, now they're going to put Yamahas on them. It'd be like making toy out of crocodiles. Anyone bought anything amazing? Anyone? Collapsible bucket, chips. Well done. Yeah, oh, at a stall here. Yeah, they are amazing. Yeah, very cool. Then they go from being amazing to challenging, tiring, frustrating. So no one's bought it, no reversible hat, nothing. No recyclable tissues. No, you've got your hat on backwards, you don't even know if you're coming or going. Are we all Cairnsians, Cairnsites? Yeah, anyone not a Cairns person? You a We're getting dogged in. Well, it's close enough. Well, it's all part of the Cairns region, isn't it? I think as soon as you get north of Ingham and like east of Mount Isa, you're in the Cairns region nowadays. So, yeah. Most people from Macedon can't talk. Yeah. Anybody else not from Cairns? No, where are you from? EddieTheStreamer. Yeah, so you washed up this morning, did you? Yeah, unreal. As soon as we got past Ingham, you know, everything's flowing and pumping and going, all the creeks and rivers. You guys up here are going to have web feet and gills soon, if you don't already. Mental. No one else from anywhere else? Oh, yeah. Sorry? Oh, TI. Nice. There we go. How's it going up there? Windy? Yep. Yep. There we go. Bit of a shame what happened up there the other week with a young fella and that crocodile.
The crocodile's okay.
Hey?
Crocodile's okay.
The crocodile's okay.
Bit random.
Good to know. Alright, we might as well kick off there, folks. There's not too many seats left. We're close enough, I reckon, by my clock. So, g'day, folks. Welcome here to the Cairns Expo. Hope everyone's having a good day. How you guys going? Good? Good. You're doing alright? Yeah. You're hooking into those, what are they, chips? Yeah, they're good? And you're hooking into a carrot. Oh my gosh. Where have we gone wrong? Alright. So folks, yeah, Ranger Dan from Hands on Wild. I've got Ranger Mum just here. We're a Townsville-based business, so don't hold that against us, but we do a lot of different stuff. So we do stuff that is captive-based. We are basically a mobile zoo that goes around to schools and daycares and do all that sort of thing. But we do a lot of training as well. We do snake handling courses. We also do crocodile awareness courses and stuff like that. And we do wildlife catching. So for all the locals, you'd be familiar with the roadworks that were going on between Gordonvale and Edmonton. That only took a little while. So, but when they cleared all that scrub in there, they get some crazy people like me to follow the machinery while all that grass and bush is getting cleared out. Anything that comes out of the grass or the trees, we catch it, identify it and let it go in a suitable location. So it could be a tree full of sugar gliders, that's always fun. And it could be a clump of grass with a taipan in it, which is pretty fun as well, just for a whole different reason. So we do a lot of work with captive animals, but we've also got a lot of experience with wild animals as well. So we are going to kick off this talk here this Arvi with crocs. I've just got to remember which end of it. I haven't got this tube marked, so I don't know if he's going to come out charging or whatever work. Out you come. So don't fall over. Alright, crocodiles. Now, I want to kick this off with, it's going to be pretty obvious, I love my crocodiles. I think they're awesome critters. I've been working with crocodiles for over 20 years, so they are amazing animals. But I understand that they're not everyone's cup of tea. And some people don't care much for crocodiles, and some people think that they're nothing but a nuisance. And that's okay. But what I would like for you to do, if you don't like crocodiles, alright, make sure that all your opinions are based on facts. Because most of what people go on is just what their favourite politician says or what the bloke down the pub says, and none of that is based on fact. That is just made up Crocodile Dundee nonsense, and there's no truth to it at all. So we're going to go through a few little things, and if you're one of those people who don't like crocodiles and you think that all these bunny hugger types like me are just full of waffle and don't know what we're talking about, go and look it up. Alright, Google it, look in a book on crocodiles or something and just check it out. Alright, so this is a little saltwater crocodile, and this is obviously one of the two types of crocs that we get here in Australia. What's the other brand of crocodile we get? Freshwater crocodile, there we go. Now, the difference between the salties and the freshies is massive, all right? There's a big size difference. There's a prey preference difference, okay? Saltwater crocodiles will grow up to consider things our size as a viable food item, all right? They will hunt everything up into cattle and buffalo, so they don't have any trouble handling something our size. Where the freshwater crocodile is different to the salty. The salty is that big unit, and the freshie is the small unit. It's the light duty version. And both of these animals can be found in fresh water. So that's the big one. So I'm following a bit of a discussion on Facebook, and you know, Facebook gives all sorts of people a bit of a platform. It's amazing the types of people that get on there. And yeah, just put them back in the salt where they should be, kick them out of the fresh. It's like, yeah, a bit loose with the facts there. So these animals, the saltwater crocodile, that's just what we call them. They probably call them something completely different. They call themselves something else. But these guys will live in fresh water, and they actually prefer fresh water. There are populations of saltwater crocodiles that will live their entire lives in fresh water, and the reason is the food is better. If you live in a fresh waterway, you've got the fish. A lot of the fish, the jacks, the JPs, the barra, they all move up into the fresh. Then you've got the turtles, then you've got those big eels, and then you've got all the water birds, and then you've got the wallabies, the roos, the bats, everything else, all around the fresh. You get into the salt. Oh, yeah. That's a crocodile split.
They peed on you, eh?
It's
Don't
not
get
a
close
super
to that.
soaker, it's a salty soaker.
Don't get close to that.
Did it get you? No, that's pretty good. Pretty
No, it
dodgy.
landed there.
Salt? Oh, yeah, that's a crocodile squirt gun.
They peed on you, eh?
It's
Don't
not
get
a
close to
super
that.
soaker, it's a salty soaker.
Don't get close to that.
Did it get you? No, that's pretty good. Pretty
No, it
dodgy.
landed there.
So there's just so much more food on offer in a freshwater environment, but they will survive in a saltwater environment. In fact, they're one of very few crocodiles that can spend their entire life in a saltwater environment and never need to go into freshwater at all. So they're a very, very adaptable crocodile, and they can be found anywhere that is within reach of the coast, and then all the way out to 1,500 k's off the coast. So you can find these guys all over the show. They are found here in Australia down as far as Gladstone. They're found all the way around the top, and then down as far as about Port Hedland in West Oz, over to India, and then up to the Philippines, and then out to the Solomon Islands. They used to go all the way out to Fiji, but they've been shot out of Fiji, but there's a good chance that they'll actually make it back over there as well. So these crocodiles are very widespread, and they've been doing that for millions of years. And that's the big thing a lot of people forget, I think, about these animals, is that this is a very prehistoric critter. This has been around for a long, long time. So when we think that what's happening in the last 20, 30, 40 years is new, no. These things have done it all before. Long before we came along, any puddle of water basically would have had crocodiles in it. The only limiting factor that these animals would have had prior to people landing in Australia was themselves. They would have maintained their own numbers. And that's the other thing, a lot of people bang on now, we need to control their numbers, we need to put them back in their place and everything else. They never overpopulated in the first place. They never ate themselves out. They never starved to death because there was too many crocs. Crocs and sharks, lions, tigers, all of those apex predators will always maintain themselves at a sustainable level. When their levels become unsustainable, they themselves become the food. And they knock their numbers back down to a sustainable level. That's how those systems work, right? So we don't have to get involved in that. So what we do know about these crocs is that we do know that they operate from the water. They don't run fast, so we know to stay safe in croc country, there's some real basic rules. So if we enter the water, we put ourselves at the mercy of the crocodile. Now, here in Australia in the last couple of years, the fatalities have increased by a long margin. So we are looking at nearly one fatality a year now for crocodiles. It used to be about one every 3 years. Horses are still killing over 20 people a year, so these things have got a long way to go before they start becoming one of the top killers in Australia. But what people are doing when they get grabbed is they're not following the rule book, all right? Now, if we look at the latest croc fatalities in Queensland, in Australia, we've got the Thursday Island incident where the young fellas left the boat to go back to shore, their boat broke down. Maybe they didn't have a choice, maybe they did, but they entered the water in an area known for crocs, and one of them didn't make it out. So it's a very unfortunate situation. Another one was the guy up at Lakefield. This time last year, we were all talking about the bloke at Lakefield who'd just been killed by crocodiles only a couple of weeks beforehand. And that incident there, he would have been in the water. There's no way in the world that crocodile flew up that bank to grab him. If anybody's been fishing up there, the bank, the drop to the water is a couple of metres of height. So the crocodile did not fly out of the drink and run uphill to grab that guy. What has happened there is he has slipped. The crocs up there at Lakefield, they know in those areas where you go fishing in a tall bank like that, the only way you can get your fish out of the drink is to scull drag it up the bank. Contact. Enemy, left, right, front, centre. We all good? Yeah, no dramas. We've got some fresh underwear outside if you need some. Yeah. So these guys here, they are, a lot of people go on about how smart crocodiles are. You're never going to sneak up on a crocodile and see it doing a crossword puzzle. Alright, you're never going to sneak around a corner in a creek and two of them having a game of chess. They're not genius animals, but they've been around for a long time, so they know how to settle into routines. Once there becomes a repeating action, they know how to take advantage of that. So at Lakefield National Park, where lots of people go fishing and they've got to drag their fish up out of the water, the crocs have learned, all you've got to do, you see one of those things there, standing there, you park yourself there, and fish just magically get dragged past your nose. And all you got to do is open your mouth and take it off the line. And that's what they do. And that's what that croc would have been waiting for, is a fish to come past and to grab that fish. For some reason, the bloke slipped, he's gone down that hill, he's landed in the drink, right on the nose of a 4.1 metre crocodile, and that's not where you want to be. So, you know, it's an accident, and it's unfortunate, but it's avoidable. So how is that avoidable? Just that extra step back from the water's edge, just taking that extra bit of care, making sure you don't end up in the drink. And that's the key thing about croc attacks. People bang on about like these things are targeting people. They're not targeting people, they just take those opportunities. So there are, and we've got people from Mareeba. There are parts of Australia right now that are experiencing problems with crocodiles where there weren't crocs before. And Mareeba is one of those places. There are crocs popping up all around the Mareeba location and they're not meant to be there. But if you listen to certain people, they will tell you that those crocodiles are climbing the Barron Falls and getting up the top, or they've come all the way in from the Gulf, up the Mitchell with a sailboat or something. Or maybe they do have a Yamaha strapped to them. That's not what happened. The crocs around Mareeba all came from a very poorly run crocodile farm that had more crocs escape than they did sales, and they have established themselves in all of those waterways. And all you've got to do is drive from Mareeba to Atherton and back again and see how all of those waterways are linked. They've got those irrigation canals. They've got there's plenty of opportunity up there for those crocodiles to move from one waterway to the next, to the next, to the next. So people are having crocodiles pop up in their farm dams. They are seeing crocs in these creeks that they've never seen them before. Lake Mitchell's got crocs in it now. There's a population in there. They've never been in there before, and they're not supposed to be in there. So they will be targeted for removal. Unfortunately, they are there, so what that does mean is that it's no longer a safe place to do several things. But that is a very, very, very isolated case. When you look at things like Lake Placid here in Cairns, Lake Placid is completely and absolutely connected to the ocean, and there is nothing stopping animals from getting up there. What has happened in that time since the 70s, we settled into this comfort zone where there was very few crocodiles. And there was very few of these things. These things got smashed down to about 5,000 animals. That's right across the top of Australia, there was only about 5,000 of these things left. And that's where people want to go back to. They want, we need to go back so we can go swimming. The funny thing is that these creeks, Murray River, all of these places, they weren't safe to swim in then. There was just less chance of being taken. So it's still Russian roulette. It just may have been a bit more in your favour. So the crocodiles would have come and gone from those areas, but because they're not prime locations, they wouldn't have set up camp there. But the fact that we are seeing crocs move into places like Lake Placid on a regular basis, what that tells us is that our population here in Queensland is reaching a certain point. And this is where some people get it wrong. And they've done several surveys, and the population we've got is about 30 to 35,000 crocs in this state. So our population is not doing this anymore. In fact, our population looks like it is plateauing. But this is 1.5 years old. Then he's going to get to 2, he's going to get to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's going to get bigger. And crocs are just like blokes. When we're in our 20s and 30s, we hang out and we go to the pub, we go to the clubs, and 40s and 50s, we'll go and play golf together. 60s and 70s, we just yell at each other on the phone, but we don't want to see each other. And that's what happens with crocs. They get grumpy as they get older. They need more space to themselves. So the population stays the same size in terms of number, but each animal needs more space to itself. So they're going to push each other away. And the smaller ones get pushed into the less desirable spots, like Lake Placid. Because there's only 2 options. Go and live there, or get eaten and killed. And that's, well, what am I going to choose? Gee, I wonder. So they are going to start filling these vacancies more and more often. So we do have to expect to see crocodile moving into those spots more and more often. All right, so just quickly on that, and like I said before, you can go and look all this up. I was reading this stuff on last night, and someone said, oh, the evidence that they're overpopulating is clear. A female can lay 120 eggs. I think they've got the crocodile confused with the termite. A big female, the biggest egg batch that I know of was in the 80s. It was 87 or 88 eggs in a single clutch. The average clutch size is in the 40s. So, and when you've got a 2% success rate, and that's all that happens, a 2% success rate for these things, that means you need several years of nesting to get a successful adult crocodile. So the recruitment rate, the rate at which these things add to the population, is nowhere near as fast as we think it is. And it's the growth rate is the main reason. This is 1.5 years old. Now, if you took this up into Tinaroo and you put an 8.0 through its back and you sunk this thing, you are going to catch one of the biggest barras you've ever seen. Because this is barra food. This is groper tucker. All right. This is sea eagle food. There's snakes that would eat this thing and not even stretch first. All right. So the number of predators that crocodiles have is amazing, and that's just after they hatch. Before they hatch, pigs, goannas, water rats, they all hook into them like there's no tomorrow. And remember, these things have been around for millions of years, so other critters have been using these guys as a food source for millions of years. So it's not just, oh, every time 2 crocs look at each other, there's 1,000 more crocodiles. It doesn't work like that. So we do have to be a bit more realistic about our beliefs when it comes to crocodiles. Like I said, if you don't like me, I like, that's fine. I don't like cats. All right? And no one's ever going to be able to tell me anything interesting about cats to make me like them. Right? But if you're going to hate these things, just make sure it's based on fact. And the rules are real simple, folks. So if you are going fishing, and hopefully a lot of people here like going fishing, I go fishing down in Townsville. We've got a few crocs. We've got quite a few crocs popping up now in the Bowley and down Morrissey's and places like that. You just got to make sure your boat's big enough. So if we wind the clock back a bit further and we think about the poor bloke that was pulled out of that little boat in the Hinchinbrook, that's an avoidable circumstance. Not everyone can afford a nice big flash tender, but if you can't afford something bigger than a bathtub, you probably shouldn't be in the water around crocodiles. And when I say a bathtub, I'm not trying to be cheeky, that boat was just under 2 metres long, right? Corner peg to here and under 1 metre wide. The boat was this big. I have sat in bathtubs bigger than that. All right, just because you put an outboard on the end doesn't mean it's the Titanic. So this crocodile that was responsible for that was 4.8 metres long. 4.8 metres, and I saw a picture of the animal after it had been shot. That animal could have been an extra in Jurassic World. It was the biggest 4.8 metre croc I've ever seen. And what I mean by that is everything about it was just on juice. Like the back legs were massive. The head looked like it should have been off a 5-point-something metre animal. It was just a huge unit of a crocodile. And when they examined the crocodile, inside its stomach they found sea turtle shell. So that animal had been living out offshore, consuming sea turtles. Those things are built pretty hard. So this thing's big enough and hard enough to just rip them apart and eat them, and it was probably only in the Hinchin Brook for a rest. It wasn't a resident crocodile. So that's how these things can happen. It was just a really poor timing, case of poor timing, but unfortunately he won't ever do that again. So we must play by the rules. If you're in a boat, make sure it's big enough. Enough freeboard, enough beam to make sure that you're safe from crocodiles. If you're into kayak fishing, that's great. Unfortunately, limited choices of where you're going to do that up here in the tropics, okay? There was another bloke who was pulled out of a kayak in Lakefield National Park, and he was absolutely destroyed, but he wasn't eaten. And they think that what happened there, based on that behaviour, is that that crocodile, if you ever see a crocodile do this, they come up to your boat, and their head comes up out of the water, and their tail comes up out of the water, what's the best thing you can do?
Run.
No, you're in a boat too.
Run on water.
Move. That croc is challenging you. These things invented the hide and go seek game. They invented it 60 million years ago. That's what they live by. When they decide to come out of the water and show you what they are challenging you. And you don't want to take them up on that, because these things weigh hundreds of kilos and they've got tons of jaw pressure. So if you're in a kayak, you think about that profile on top of the water, it looks very similar to a crocodile doing this. Remember, this thing's got a primitive brain. This is not a scientist, it's a crocodile. So if it sees that profile sitting on top of the water, that's going to trigger a little bit of instinct, and they think that that's what happened to that poor bloke. That crocodile has gone, oh, this croc's hanging out here and challenging me, game on. And unfortunately, we're not strong enough to do that. So small vessels, not ideal for croc country. Then on top of that, some creeks and rivers are just out of bounds. So if you go up into the territory, if you travel around Australia, right, those places where they do the jumping croc tours, it's not a good place for an open boat, because those crocodiles don't know what the tour boat is versus what a normal tinny is. It's a boat. It's got those things in it that talk all the time, and that's where food comes from. So we're going to jump in there and see what's on offer. All right, 4 metres lands in 3.5 metres a boat. There's not a lot of room to run around. So, you know, make sure your boat's big enough. Make sure that you're aware of things that might lead to a bad encounter. If you fish off the bank, 10 steps away from the water's edge. That's it. These things cannot run fast. If they could run fast, they'd be killing heaps of people up here. All right, this is built like a sausage dog. You will not outswim this animal in the water, but you can outrun these critters up on land, and you don't have to go Usain Bolt. You can run backwards. I've been working with crocs for 20 years. I'm no athlete, and I've never been chased down by a crocodile. All right, and they've tried. So 10 steps away from the water. If we're in a boat, don't lean over the edge and wash your hands. A lot of crocs have learnt now that boats mean fish, and they will sit right near boats. In some creeks, crocs will sit right under your boat. And when you get that animal right to the water's edge, you're about to net it, next minute, it's gone. And the croc will just sit there and wait for that fish to come to them. So it happens. But the key thing is, if we were to go out and take 1, 10, 20% of the crocodiles out of the wild, it doesn't make any waterway safe to swim in, because there could still be one there. It only takes one croc to be dangerous. It doesn't take 20. They don't hunt in packs. So what people are wanting to happen is not going to work. It's not going to create the situation that they think it is. So we just have to go, you know what, these things are part of the furniture up here. We have to live by the rules, and if you do that, you'll be fine. There are places here in the Cairns area you can go swimming, and you won't get chewed on by a crocodile. It's doable. So same as in Townsville. We've got places in Townsville we can do it. So it's the Aboriginal people landed in Australia. If you wind the clock back to when they landed in the Kimberley region, there was crocs, and we had goannas that were 7 metres long. And they looked around and they went, that's big. Holy, that's really big. No, this will do. We'll be right. And 60,000 years later, still here. So it's not as if it can't be done. All right, we've got all the knowledge in the world these days. Living with crocodiles is very simple. So folks, if you don't like them, that's fine, but just make sure that you don't base everything that you know about crocodiles on what somebody down the pub said, or what maybe your favourite politician said to you. One of my favourite things people are talking about now, they're bringing back up game hunting crocodile. Who goes fishing? Rightio, yeah. go fishing. Imagine getting a day off work and you go, tides are great. You get your boat all hooked up, you head down to your boat ramp and there's some muppet standing there go, no, you can't come out on the creek today. Wombat Bill is paid $20,000 to go and hunt a crocodile. So no one else is allowed on the river today. How happy are you going to be then? Alright, because that's the only way it could happen. So a lot of people not really thinking about what it's going to take to get that done. Rightio guys, who wants to see a snake? Who wants to give me the name of a dangerous Australian snake? Taipan, you want to see one? How did I know you were going to say that? Every Aussie loves a taipan. Oh yeah, they're pretty cool, but they don't sound as cool as a taipan.
Good bastard, I think.
Alright, so, oh, twitchy but twitchy. Looks like he skipped his meds this morning. Rightio folks, so this is a coastal taipan. So we have no shortage of dangerous animals here in the tropics. And this is one of the most famous ones, the taipan. Everybody loves a good taipan story. And it's amazing how many people see taipans in their backyard. Well, I should say, see taipans in their backyard. This is a snake that most Australians will default to. If they live on the east coast and they see a brownish snake that they've got no idea what it is, they will land on taipan.
Kills them.
Because it's the most exciting snake that they know of. And that's the thing with Aussies, we're not worried about the facts. Never let the facts get in the way of a good story. It's all about the excitement factor. That's all we're worried about. So what we do is we try and convince people that we have been toe-to-toe with one of the world's most dangerous snakes. Now, here in the Cairns region, if you were to go into a taipan's head and have a look at what a taipan considers paradise, it'd look like this. Not with all the houses and stuff, but this nice, really short coastal plain, right up into the hills straight away, good rainfall. This is what taipans live for. They love that long green grass all year long. And the reason they like that is because they have got a very, very particular diet. These are very much a diva. These snakes only eat mammals. Taipans don't eat frogs, don't eat lizards, they don't eat other snakes, they only eat mammals. Rats, mice, melomys, bandicoots. Now this is not going to eat a full-grown bandicoot, but that's because this isn't fully grown. This coastal taipan here, he's 17 years old, could be bigger. He doesn't like being touched, this fella. And when I say could be bigger, over 3 metres long. So these things, the record at the moment is 3.1 metres. So that's a pretty big snake. And at 3.1 metres, you're looking at something nearly baseball bat round. So a huge animal. Now, what these snakes do have in their favour, and what does make them very exciting, is that they are our most venomous snake. But that probably doesn't mean what you think it does. To be the most venomous snake doesn't mean you've got the most powerful venom. It means that per bite, you deliver more venom than any other snake. And that's this thing here. It's got a very juicy kiss. Right? We were working with one at a zoo I used to work at a long time ago now, and that's actually the taipan that bit me 20 years ago. That snake, on average, per bite, produced 100 lethal doses of venom. So that is an extraordinary amount of venom per bite. So that's nuts. And these snakes, so they're our longest venomous snake, they're our most venomous snake, they've got the longest fangs of any venomous snake, only venomous snakes have fangs, and they can be half an inch long. Now that's all up. If we go based on, per body size, the death adder has longest fangs because they're only small animals and their fangs can be up to 10 millimetres long. But this guy here, up to 13 millimetres, so they pick the death adder overall. So these guys have got a few things. What they're not, guys move back please, don't bang on the glass or I'll throw this thing over the fence. What these guys, what they don't do is they don't kill a lot of people. Taipans don't kill anywhere near as many people as brown snakes. And to be a dangerous animal, that's what you've got to do. All right, you've got to kill people, otherwise you just don't get it. So if we do that with sharks, what's the most dangerous shark in the world? Who can tell me? Great white shark, definitely. Because when they bite people, when they do an investigation bite, we usually fall apart and we can't be put back together again quick enough and we die. What shark messes more people up? Bull shark, by about 5 to 1. You are much more likely to be chewed on by a bull shark than a great white. But because bull sharks don't kill most of their victims, they're not as dangerous. So this snake here does bite a few people, especially up and down the east coast of Queensland, where they are most common. They are also found across the top end of Australia, but the fatalities are very few. Brown snake, on the other hand, is a completely different kettle of fish. The venom in this animal here causes paralysis and causes very little damage to the body compared to a brown snake, who basically turns your blood into jelly and it destroys your blood system. So it is at a certain point it can't be reversed. So brown snake bite is far more effective and far more dangerous than taipan bites. But because this thing has got a super cool name and they've got a massive reputation, this is what most people just straight away assume that they're looking at when they see a brown snake in their yard, even though they are probably looking at a brown snake, and the brown snake is twice as toxic and about 3 times more likely to kill you. So the brown snake is more exciting than the taipan. It just doesn't sound like it because it's got a pretty dull name. But if we go back to when cane was cut by hand, back in the day when it was all done manually, this thing was death in the grass. Before 1955, just about everybody that was bitten by a taipan died. And they were killing dozens of people a year. Because when they were out in the cane cutters cutting this cane down by hand, if you whack one of these in half, it's not just going to go, oh, sorry, I got in the way of the cane knife. It's going to go, right, it's on. And snake cut in half is a dangerous snake because it takes a long time for them to die. So you think about cutting the cane by hand, bunching it by hand, loading it by hand. There's a lot of opportunity there to be bitten. And no anti-venom back then. So we've got a couple of things in our favour now, and those things, 3,000 bites a year in Australia from snakes. We have about 300 envenomations and about 3 fatalities a year. So the reason those numbers go in our favour very quickly is because we have a very effective first aid. In fact, our first aid is effective for all snakes in Australia, and we have an anti-venom for every dangerous snake that we've got. So that's something that is really, really cool. There are no snakes in Australia that are dangerous that are not covered by an anti-venom currently. Alright, so nobody has a hybrid snake, that doesn't happen. Alright, so that's probably the same people that have crocodiles that chase them around their paddock. So these guys here, if it's a taipan, it's covered by taipan. If it's brown, it's covered by brown. A lot of snakes are covered by black snake anti-venom. More snakes are covered by tiger snake anti-venom. And if it's a death adder, it's covered by death adder anti-venom. And we even have anti-venom for sea snakes. But we're going to wrap this talk up, folks, looking at the importance of this. So a couple of months ago in Townsville, we had a guy die from brown snake bite. He was dead in 20 minutes. A few years ago, in 2018, we had another guy die in the same suburb. 15 minutes. Neither one of these blokes did any first aid. This is not a gimmick. This will save your life. I was bitten by one of these things, bigger than this, and I got to hospital, and when the doctor interfered with my bandage, I went symptomatic straight away. And I went through every single symptom of taipan bite except death. That was the next one on the list. They were plugging me into the life support machine when I started to respond to the anti-venom. So it was a very close call. What got me to hospital and got me in that position to be saved was this. Do not wait until you are sick to put this on. If you are sick from snake bite, you've lost this, you've missed the boat for this. And if it's a brown snake bite, you are already circling the drain. That's how toxic they are. So this must go on immediately. And for it to go on immediately, you must have it with you. That's as simple as that. You can't use it if you don't have it, and you can't put it on straight away if you've got to walk back up to the house, drive back to boat back to the car, whatever. So it goes with you. And I say in the boat, because if you throw a cast net over a sea snake and you get bitten whilst you're getting rid of that sea snake, it's the same first aid. Right? It's exactly the same. So this is really important. There is a sales pitch coming up, we're selling them here. But if you're not going to buy our bandage, that's fine. Get them from somewhere. And you'll notice that this bandage has got these marks on there. This is what they call an indicator style bandage. So this is what you want to go for. When you're applying this bandage to the bitten limb and you are tensioning the bandage, alright, this bandage, these rectangles will turn into squares, and that means you've got the right tension as you go. Okay, so there's no guesswork. When I got bitten by the taipan in 2003, we used 4 of those brown bandages because the first 2 bandages were too loose. Little bit of a tip, once pressure has been applied to a limb for snake bite, do not remove that pressure. If you think that bandage is too loose, you go over the top. The next bandage will squeeze the first bandage. You don't take your gear off, alright, fellas? Well, you're from Atherton, mate. You get bitten on the hand and throw your pants straight out in the street. So we leave our clothes on because our clothing will conform. The only thing you take off, boots, jewellery, things that are not going to allow your body to expand if you go through swelling, and things that are not going to allow the bandage to squeeze your limb to stop the venom. So it's very important because one of the things they'll tell you in your first aid courses, don't wash the bite site. Not a single doctor is likely to know what the snake is if you rock up to hospital. Of all the years they spend at doctor's school, not one of them is identifying snakes. They don't have to. All they have to be able to do is use a venom detection kit, and that will tell them what anti-venom is going to be most effective for that scenario. But if you wash all of that off, or if you leave it behind with your clothing, they can't use that kit. So it takes longer and longer and longer. So don't wash the bite, don't take bandages off bandage limbs, and if you are going to stock up, folks, indicator style bandage is the way to go. So if you're not going to buy from us, that's fine, get it from somewhere. If you go outside at home, there's a guy killed here in Cairns in 2017 by a taipan in his house, alright, by a little one. That is a coastal taipan. This is that. It's a bit hard to see, you can see the shape through the paper though. Tiny, alright? This is about the size of the snake that killed the guy in 2017. So it can happen, it's like a VB, it can happen anywhere. You can get a snake bite any old how. You can get it brush cutting, you can get it lawn mowing, you can get it throwing a cast net. Alright, and if you've got your first aid there with you, you are in good shape. All of those numbers mean that if you are ever bitten by a snake, you should survive that scenario. But if you don't have what you need, there's a lot of people that don't. Alright, so you don't want to be one of those. So folks, we're wrapping up there. I've been dribbling on too long. So I've got Ranger Mum over here. The bandages for sale, cash card, $20 a throw, 3 for 50. The reason we bundle them in 3, one bandage is having a go. One bandage won't even do one arm. 2 bandages will get your arm done. You'll need 3 bandages to do a leg. On the bandages, we've got a QR code. It takes you to a first little demonstration online that we've done. I bandaged up, in that video I bandaged a shorter staff member that we've got, and I go through 3 bandages on her leg. So that's why we bundle them in 3. So 1, it's having a go. 2, you're getting close. 3, you're on the money. 4 bandages, you're probably a bit paranoid, but we'll sell them to you. But if you're not going to get ours, folks, get them from somewhere. You've got to have this stuff when you need it. So thanks for listening, folks. If anyone's got any questions, you can bring them over to the stage. I don't look real bright, but I do know a few things. If anyone's got any pictures on their phone of critters they want identified, I can look at them and tell you it doesn't matter if the dog killed it with a shovel. I've seen it all before. It doesn't have to be a snake. It can be a spider or anything like that. I can look at it for you. But anyway, thanks for listening, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you haven't done so yet, go and buy something expensive. Thank you.
I'll finish up things here and we're going to go to fishing show. Yeah. Put your hat on.
Bye.